Hello, hello.
Hello. Well, it's just you and me at the moment, I think.
No, no, we're all
Hey.
here. We're all here.
Hi. How are you?
Right, we're just giving everybody a few minutes just to get into the room. Laura's just arriving. So, Susanna, can I hand over managing the waiting room to you? Thank you. So, hello, hello. Welcome to the Cortisol Code Workshop. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Dr. Marguerite. I used to be an NHS GP. I am now a functional medicine specialist exclusively, and I am very, very passionate about the work that I do. And I am so excited about this workshop this evening. Now, you've all come in. Thank you all so much for being on camera. That is so lovely because part of my intention for this workshop is that we kind of hang out together. I am going to be teaching you a whole bunch to start off with, but I really want us to have a sense of like, okay, this is us as women traveling the road together. Um, I, I think that's really important, and I just feel more connected to you all if I can see your faces. That's just maybe my neurology, I don't know, but I do really appreciate you being on camera if you feel able to do that. So, um, I am so glad you are here. Welcome, welcome, welcome. The fact that you are here tells me a lot about you and about what's going on in women's health right now. Now, I know some of you are here because, we are already working together, and some of you are here, you've never met me before and you don't know anything about what I do and everything in between, and that is fine. But I just want to shine a spotlight on this, that there is an epidemic of fatigue that's quietly going on in the background in the world, and it is literally suffocating and stifling women's lives. There's a whole bunch of medical gaslighting going on where, there's a subtle dismissal of women's symptoms and their pain and their instincts about their body and how they want to work with their body. And we sometimes go to our doctors or our clinicians, and we say, like, I have this sense like there's all these different things going on, and I know there's just something going on underneath that links it all, and that there's a real reason why I feel this way. And we just get dismissed, basically. That stuff just gets dismissed. And there's also the patriarchal version of events that continues to dominate the conversation, even on women's health, depriving women of their natural wisdom, their vitality, their power, and putting their symptoms into boxes for convenience, for their data analysis driven health models. Nice guidelines, anyone? Or their box ticking systems, right? This is me on my soapbox, okay? Anna's shaking her head. It drives me potty. It honestly, it keeps women so stuck. It's such a disservice to women and our health. And it's at the very time in the world where, as women, we need our health, we need our vitality, we need our aliveness, like in spades. Okay. So now aren't you glad you came? So this is real women, real talk. Okay. I'm not pulling any punches tonight. I am just going to say it as it is. So this epidemic of fatigue, what is happening is that there's a whole raft of undiagnosed adrenal fatigue sitting at the root of so many of the health issues that women are facing. And here's another truth. Adrenal fatigue is a silent killer. Okay. It's not this benign thing like, oh, well, it doesn't matter. No, it is a really serious thing. It literally shortens lives. It will take years of your life. It will take life out of your years. It is a massive risk factor for all forms of cardiovascular disease, for type 2 diabetes, for dementia, for cancer. The list goes on. It is compromises your immune system, your body's ability to function properly, to heal and repair itself. It is really, really fundamental. Okay, really important. And the world is just shrugging its shoulders and going, oh, adrenal fatigue, is that even real? Now, terminology aside, we might want to use different terminology for this. We might want to use HPA axis dysfunction. We might want to use chronic cortisol dysregulation. We might want to use, chronic cortisol receptor insensitivity. We can use all these complicated words, but adrenal fatigue is so much easier to say. So that's what we're talking about. Okay. But women are waking up to this. That's why you're here. I am so excited that you're here because all of this affects women more profoundly than men. And men get adrenal fatigue too, but it has a much bigger impact on women than on men, especially in midlife. Because in midlife, we get to the point where, and by midlife, I mean our 40s, 50s, 60s, early 70s, that whole middle section of life. That's what I'm talking about. Because at that point, we've had decades of chronic stress patterning combining with profound hormonal shifts. And, we can talk about why that is another time. But women also pay a much higher price than men do when they are in fatigue, because we are often already the ones that are juggling all the plates, spinning all the multi roles. So it has a bigger impact on our health because we also have this whole hormonal dance going on. Our finances, we are the ones who end up working part-time or giving up work or operating, taking a job that as a teaching assistant when you're a flipping amazing teacher, but you just got burnt out somewhere in the process. This happen. I see this in my work all the time, and it makes me want to cry. It affects our happiness, our confidence, our contribution, our impact in the world, and our power, our ability to affect change in the world. And it's so desperately needed right now. We need women's wisdom now more than ever before, and you cannot do it from a state of depletion. Now, I'm not suggesting we all, rip off our bras and go on a march down Piccadilly Circus or whatever, but it starts with us. It starts with me, myself, and I, my body, my life, my relationships. And we need to start there. I'm not suggesting we go on but if we don't start there, we haven't got a hope of achieving all the rest of it. So I am bloody proud that you're here. And yes, I do swear a lot. Those of you who've worked with me before, there's quite a lot of effing and blinding goes on, especially when I get a bit excited. Um, so but you're the ones who are waking up to this truth that there has to be another way. This low grade fatigue, this energy, this brain fog, this can't really quite sleep right, just feeling like you're dragging yourself through life, feeling like you've been hit by a truck, all that stuff. It's just no good. There has to be another way. There has to be something underlying it. And we don't want the fixes and the band-aid medicine. We don't want to be told, just be a good girl and take the pills. We don't want to be told, no, the tests are all right, so off you go. Off you just trundle away. Like, no, this is no good. We want to feel empowered. We want to feel partnering in our own health creation, energy creation, and it really, really matters. So you are the ones who are willing to be opening into this whole new way of really reclaiming our health and our energy because it is ours. So I'm glad you've decided to spend your 17 quid. It's better than Netflix, this, I tell you now. I'm sure Netflix will be calling any minute. But you're courageous, you're bold, and you're super inspiring to me. And you are the women that I want to walk forward with. I want to create a movement of this. This is not just, oh, there's a little problem and how do you fix it? And oh, we'll just do a few things. That's not going anywhere near far enough. We need to march together, literally. So, who am I to be saying all of this? So, by background, I'm a medical doctor. I am nearly 58. God. And so I've had decades of clinical experience within the NHS. I've done it all. I've done acute medicine, I've done trauma medicine, I've done 15 years as a GP. I've seen a lot of different kinds of medicine, but my own health crash in 2015 led me to discover functional medicine. Now, functional medicine is rather wonderful because it is evidence-based, science-based medicine, just like NHS medicine is, but it works with the body in a different way. It focuses on looking at the body holistically as a series of systems that talk to each other. And it's about root cause. It's asking the question, why has these symptoms or this constellation of symptoms occurred in this person? What is the root cause? Okay. So it's not that I want to be anti-medicine. I'm not. There is a time and place for things, but I do want to be pro-empowered medicine. Can't say that strongly enough. Medicine where you get to be a partner, where you have agency, where you can act in accordance with what's true for you. We don't want one size fits all. We don't want to be a box that gets ticked. We don't want to be, oh, here's where you fit into the nice guidelines. Off you go, do that bit. It's not what we want. So my big discovery, so all of that said, here I am, having been a jobbing functional medicine specialist for the last 8 years. I run a clinic that exclusively organises that, where I work one-to-one with people with all sorts, with autoimmune stuff, with adrenal fatigue, with long COVID, all of it. It's like a general clinic thing. But here's the thing, and this is why we're having a session specifically focusing on adrenal fatigue, because it sits at the root of pretty much everything. Yeah, and it is so treatable. So I like to think that energy recovery is kind of my superpower. I'm very good at unpicking with people, whether I work with people one-to-one or whether we're working together in a group program like the Energy Catalyst. I'm very good at unpicking, like, where are you held stuck? Isabel's nodding. So nice to see you, Isabel. Um, but I like to think of it as my superpower. And I did a session on this morning. I thought, I'm going to claim that crown. I'm going to have that as my crown. That's my superpower. I help women have amazing energy. Um, but here's what I discovered in my 8 years of doing this. Okay, so even though functional medicine is new and it's all like, oh, is this wonderful new medicine? Yeah, it is really wonderful. But here's where the experience comes in, right? Having done this for 8 years, helped hundreds of women across the line. What I've discovered is this: you can't just do it with the physical medical part, even when it is as wonderful as functional medicine is, being holistic and root cause and all the rest of it. In other words, you can't just do it with the sciencey bit. You have to combine it with soul. So it's science and soul. Now, what do I mean by that? And you all largely have Isabel and Charlotte, and I can't see anybody else's face who I recognize, but you have, because when we were working together in the Energy Catalyst earlier this year, they said to me, this is like science and soul. This phrase kept coming back up, and I'm thinking, yeah, that makes sense. This is how I work differently to other functional medicine practitioners. I'm really passionate about, yes, we need to do all the physical steps, all the physical pieces, but we need to knit it together with the soul of it. And what I mean by that is the woman that you're becoming as you recover your energy, your vitality, and what is it for? And that is really important, that part of the equation. If you only focus on the physical bits, you probably get about 40–50% of the results. If you knit it together with the soul about what's pulling you forward, what is this energy going to be for? Who are you becoming? And taking the action steps of recovery from that place, your results will 10x. Okay. And this is why, like, when we work together in the Energy Catalyst, in 12 weeks, we achieve incredible things. People's physiology does a 180 and they start to have energy again. It is honestly, like, it never staggers to amaze me, but it's because of this secret sauce, this combination of the science of functional medicine combined with the soul part of who you're becoming, your sovereignty, if you like. And this word sovereignty is something I haven't spoken about a huge amount, but it is an incredibly important piece of the puzzle. Okay. So this is what you're going to be learning about today then. So you're going to be learning about adrenal fatigue recovery. I'm going to be sharing with you my methodology, my roadmap for this is how I take people through it. Okay. The methodology is called the Cortisol Code, and it is specifically based around adrenal fatigue. However, when we work on the cortisol code, especially in the Energy Catalyst, it also looks at gut health, at detox systems, at other things. But its prime focus is adrenal fatigue recovery, if that makes sense. So this has kind of become my sort of signature way of my unique way of working with it, and it gets incredible results. And you're about to have a crash course in the cortisol code. That's what you've signed up for. So a couple of practicalities then. I'm going to try and honor the 45 minutes that I said this workshop would be. However, I got so excited when I started writing all of this out. We might go a smidge over time. And I do apologize if that is an inconvenience, but I will try to do my very, very best. And for transparency, I will also be offering, for those of you for whom it is right, at the end, we'll do the teaching bit first. So, that bit's fine. And if you think, actually, that's it, I've got what I need, thanks very much, I'm off, that is fine too. But for transparency, if at the end, if you think, actually, I really love all of this, like, whoa, this is so my bag, then I will show you how you can continue the journey. So just so that you know, but we'll do that right at the end. Also, after that, I'm really happy to answer and, to stay and answer any questions that you have. We can really have a nice, rich conversation. I'm so pleased so many of you are on camera. Having a conversation with women together is so empowering. It's so, like, yeah, and then will in the next few days you'll be sent a replay. I know originally we said no replays, but because it was my bad that we changed the date because I thought I was all right. I lost my mum in September and I thought I would be fine. And I was fine till the day before, and then suddenly I just crumbled. So I just wasn't in the right space to be able to really be here for you in the way that, I would want to be. So all of that is coming. But yeah, there's lots of time to ask questions at the end, which we'll do after the 45 minutes, 60 minutes are up. The other thing I want to make a request of you is this is how I would like you to participate in the session as we go forwards. So I'd like you to use the chat box to capture something that I call medicine moments, MM. Okay. Medicine moments, are anything that I say or that comes up for you as we're having this session, as we're talking, as I'm sharing ideas, sharing concepts, ways of thinking, anything that lands for you, something that stands out for you, something that feels important, or that you just want to remember more deeply for yourself. And the reason why I want you to just go like, so you might say, my body doesn't want to push anymore, or I've been living in survival mode for years. Whatever, ahas you have, things that I say that you just want to capture and just land for yourself. Because what that does is it lands it for you better, so you get more from the session, but it also lands it for the group so we can all, have good juice from it. Okay, so all of that so far. So I think I'm just looking to see if I can see the chat box. Can I see the chat? Oh, I can. Yes. So now Susanna has, who's my lovely, Susanna and I work together. Susanna's part of my team, and she has just put in there like what MM is, just so that um, you know what that is, because probably for most of you that's a bit of a new concept. So let's start then. So introducing you to the cortisol code and the wheel of sovereignty. Now, if you're with your emails, you would have got a link to print off a wheel of sovereignty. If you haven't, it's no big deal. You can just get yourself a piece of paper and a pen and draw a great big bloody circle on it and write north, south, east, and west on it and a center. That will do nicely. Okay. Yay. Brenda's got hers printed off. But if you've got the posh printed off one, that's lovely too. So what we're about really here is creating a new way of thinking about health, about thinking about how we got into fatigue, how we get more energy. And, all of you, you'll have come so far already because all of you will have done, you'll have learned about cortisol and stress and about energy from the quiz that we ran, from the Is It Adrenal Fatigue quiz, and also from the mini masterclass. And I just want to check if anybody here hasn't got a clue what I'm talking about when I say adrenal fatigue. So if you can just type no idea into the chat box, I will just give you a 2-line thing about what we're talking about so we don't lose you for the rest of the hour. So does everybody here know what adrenal fatigue is? Just type me if you know what it is and type no idea if you don't know what it is. Then I know. So Pauline's saying no idea. Okay. Pauline, you're very brave coming here. Hearing this belligerent woman. Okay, so very great. So most of you know, so very, very quickly then. So thank you for your honesty, Pauline, because that's really helpful. I don't want to, for you to be sitting here thinking, what's she talking about? And there's nothing worse than having to retrofit an idea into something. So basically, our stress system is designed for acute stress response, chronic stress response. So when the acute stress response, which is adrenaline, goes on for a certain amount of time, so you think, the culture we live in, the worries that we have, things that go on in the body, poor sleep, poor nutrition, whatever it is, chronic infections, anything that's stressful to the body will spike an adrenaline response. When that goes on for days, weeks, or months, the body goes, hang on a minute, this is too hard work. It switches into cortisol. Cortisol is your chronic stress hormone. And when the stress goes on, eventually what the body does, it thinks, oh, I'm doing her a favor. I'm just going to hardwire this in. So your whole stress response becomes cortisol based, and you kind of lose your adrenaline based stress response, but you also start to lose the balancer of the stress response, which is the parasympathetic. So that's where we do our hit. That's the nervous system that's responsible for heal and repair. So you can start to see the problem already. We go into cortisol stress response. So the body's now a soup of cortisol. Okay. We lose our heal and repair. We lose our regular stress response. So we start to feel weird with stress. Okay. Not only that, that cortisol patterning has a whole bunch of constellation symptoms of its own: fatigue, rubbishy sleep, brain fog, menopause from hell, an immune system that doesn't work properly, gut health issues, thyroid wobbles, low libido. You know, need I go on? Right? And what our culture tells us is, oh, it's the menopause, oh, it's perimenopause or menopause, right? So we interpret those symptoms as, oh, it's my age. That's why I'm feeling old and cranky and brain foggy. Or we tell ourselves it's our menopause, or we tell ourselves it's my thyroid, or we tell ourselves any number of a raft of things. But the root cause is the chronic cortisol patterning, and in common language, I'm calling that adrenal fatigue. Does that help you? Yeah, good. Okay. So it never hurts just to have a quick recap. So, um, but today we're going to step into something deeper, because this chronic cortisol patterning, it plays havoc with your body, and it depends on how long it's been going on, whether you're in mild, in moderate or severe. And your quiz results will have given you a sense of that. Now, a quiz is just a quiz, right? It's not a clinically validated tool. We do that with other things, but it gives you a sense of like, is adrenal fatigue even responsible for this stuff that I'm experiencing? And it's important to get that information, right? But this is where today we're going to go deeper, because the cortisol code is not just about fixing fatigue, it's about awakening to who you're becoming as you reclaim your energy. Because true energy recovery, and I've already hinted at this because this was the secret sauce, is not just a medical process, a physical rearrangement, realignment. It's a profound shift. It's a declaration to say, right, I'm no longer willing to live in survival mode. I'm no longer willing to run on empty. I'm no longer willing to dim my light just to get through the day. Just not available for it anymore. And that's profound, because then that's where you make a decision, you make a stand. So what we're doing here is far more than talking just about hormones, about cortisol, estrogen, progesterone, thyroid, insulin, all of that stuff. We're talking about far more than that. It's about remembering what it feels like to be fully, fully alive, to move from exhaustion into expansion, and to move from survival into sovereignty. I was speaking to someone yesterday, I won't name any names, and she said, I just feel like I'm in survival mode. Now, that's no place to be at any age, right? We've got stuff to do, we've got lives to live, we've got relationships to nourish. It won't work. So it's so much more than just fixing what's broken. It's more like a radical act of trust in your deep inner knowing, and those whispers that say to you things like, I was meant for more than this. I was meant to fulfill on my true potential. Now, these are deeply personal things. They're probably things we wouldn't even admit to someone else. But this is what I hear in my clinic. This is what sits underneath. This is what the true pain of this is. It's not just, well, I wish I wasn't so tired. It'd be nice if I had some energy. Then I could do the gardening or take care of the house. It's not that sort of thing. It's the deeper pain of it, where you don't get to be who you really are. You don't get to fulfill on your potential. You don't get to live on what your life purpose is. You just don't. And for some women, they think, I was meant for extraordinary. You just know that in your bones. And when you're shackled down by fatigue or adrenal fatigue, there's no way in hell that's going to happen. And that's the price we pay. So let's start then with so that's introducing you to the whole wheel of it. That's the ethos. So we're going to start in the center of this. And the center is desire. Okay. Now you might say, what on earth has desire got to do with fixing my fatigue? Well, let me share with you. Yeah, Janine saying loss of self, feeling like a ghost if I was. Absolutely, Janine. So if I was to ask you right now, like, what do you really, really, really want? Now, some of you who've already been working with me, you'll be able to answer this question. But I know when I was in fatigue, I was just trying to get through the day. Like, I thought it'd just be nice just to not feel like I want to burst into tears all the time. That would be nice. Yeah, that's where my level of ambition was at the time. But underneath it sat the pain of like, I know I'm meant for more. I'm meant, that was 10 years ago. So I was 48 at the time. Um, but if I asked you right now, what do you really want? Like, what would set your life on fire? Not just, oh, it'd be nice if I could do the gardening. No, no, no. What would set your life on fire? What would have you feeling like, yeah, I'm exactly who I was meant to be, living the life that I was meant for? And if you can't answer that right now, that is totally fine because most women can't because we have been trained out of knowing. We've been told, be reasonable, tone it down, don't want so much, be good, just be pleasant. In other words, to be a good girl. And that's not just from our own childhood that we get conditioned that way and our early years conditioning, but we've inherited this from our mothers. She inherited it from her mother. And this stuff goes back generations. This good girl conditioning has really, really deep roots. And just sitting there thinking, well, I'll just be a little bit bolder. It's just not, this stuff is like ingrained in us. So we are the generation of women tasked with ending this relentless passing down the behaviors of compliance, of giving our energy away, of hiding our light, of staying small, and of quietly accepting that, a life in fatigue, well, I've got nothing, I've got lots to be grateful for. It's not that bad. No. But by now, as you know, the world needs her women clear and strong and standing in their power, not just getting by. It's not enough. And we have no chance of that for as long as we stay in fatigue, individually and collectively. And it starts with you. So let's talk about the nature of desire a little bit more. So desire has a really bad reputation. It's labeled as, a bit excessive, isn't it? All those desires, a bit greedy, a bit self-indulgent, a bit unnecessary, selfish, maybe even a little bit dangerous or manipulative, maybe taboo. Desire. But we couldn't be more wrong because desire, true desire, is sacred. It's the signpost to your heart, to your truth, and to the very core of the woman that you're meant to be. So if we open the door even a little bit and invite desire back in, if we start to listen to our desires instead of silencing them, they hold gold. Our desires reveal to us what's truly for us, what enlivens you naturally, what excites you, what draws you into growth, into expansion and full possibility. And desire is one of the most potent energy sources, natural energy on tap every minute of every day that we have access to. And most of us have no clue how to access it. So let me give you an example. Think of a time when you were in love, just to show you how powerful it is, right? Think of a time when you were madly in love with someone or something. Could be, a child, could be a partner, could be, I don't know, somewhere you visited. But you were there, you were experiencing this thing that made you feel like, oh, I'm so in love with this. This is so exciting. It's so good. And you suddenly had loads of energy and the world just looked shiny. And any little problem that came along, you'd be like, I can just walk over this. You were just like indomitable. Well, I can't say it. Indomitable, that one. Um, but it's like that's desire, it's love, it's opening, it's like emotional energy on steroids. Emotional energy for yourself, for your truth, and for your purpose. So your desire is like your life force. And when we start shutting down our desires, when we stop wanting, or when we settle for, oh, well, I'll just settle for a bit less, we actually stop growing. But not only that, it actually takes energy to silence your desire. So here's this, untapped energy source that for most women just doesn't even get a look in, and it takes us energy to silence it, right? So think of holding a football and having to hold it under the water. right? And you're having to physically concentrate on doing that because the minute you let go or you just look, you're busy doing something else, this thing pops up and it bobs on the surface, right? That's the energy it takes to suppress desire. Desires are natural and they're designed to rise and they're designed to give you energy, right? So when we work with the cortisol code, um, we start looking at what are our desires, what are the things that are meaningful to us, what are our true values, who's the woman that you're really meant to be, who your identity. And those of you who've done the energy catalyst with me, you'll know what I'm talking about. We do all of this work in the very first week, and it scares the shit out of everybody, and everybody's sitting on the thing going, I don't know what she's talking about, because most of us have got so disconnected from it. We're just like, oh, I don't know, I'm just being sensible and practical and just getting on with life. But we have to wake that energy up. Yeah. And there's a reason for that. And I'll talk about that in a moment. But let's talk about the good girl for a moment. So, as I say just at the beginning, if anything I'm saying, I can see some of you writing for your notes, but if you're writing the box, just write and just write down, capture the phrase that's being said that's really, catching you, because it'll help you anchor it in. Okay. Now, we all have a good girl in us. Like I already said, this is conditioning that goes back generations. We can't just suddenly erase it from our experiential DNA. We just can't. It's there. It's done. But the good girl, she was trained to tidy away her desires. Don't be too loud. Don't be too ambitious. Don't be too passionate. Don't take up too much space. Don't be loud or say a lot or be colorful. Don't do any of those things. And she actually learned that wanting things was dangerous. It got her into trouble. She'd be told off. You shouldn't ask for so much. Shouldn't want so much. She'd be silenced. She'd be ignored. She'd be shut out. She'd be disapproved of. So the good girl couldn't afford to have desires, not in the way that we're talking about. And she learned to hide all these parts of herself so that she'd be accepted by her family, by her school group, by her, friends in her clubs, at work. We silence ourselves. We make ourselves small. We make ourselves fit in. We make ourselves agreeable. It's about playing it safe. She also learned to say, I'm fine, when she's not. That's classic good girl territory. She chooses practicality, what's sensible, what's for the greater good. I think the whole of the NHS is populated by good girls. We overgive, we overdeliver. I'm sure lots of other professions as well, but that's the profession that I know. But if you can give your desire that natural energy, that emotional, like spiritual energy almost, because our desires are kind of like they arrive, right? They're sort of given to us. They're not often not all that sensible. Okay. So, but what if your desire, this natural life force, is a force for good in the world? What if it's a force for the highest good of all? What if it's the very thing that the world needs most right now, especially from its women? What if this isn't an indulgence, this desire, but actually it's your sovereignty? It's you being queen of your life. And to want what you truly want, it's like a radical act of self-ownership. So we're just going to take a breath together. And this center of the hub, this desire, activating this emotional / spiritual energy is a huge part of what feeds all the other things so that it makes it easier to do the journey. Yeah. And this is why we're talking about it now. So I want you to just take a breath, put one hand on your heart, one hand on your tummy, and just take a nice, big, slow breath in. So just really in. And breathe out. Continue taking some breaths like that. I just want you to just ask yourself really quietly, like, what is it that I really long for? What's the longing in me that's wanting to come through? The desire, that spark, what wants to move through me? And it may be that nothing comes, and that's fine. It may be that you just think, well, this is nice sitting here breathing with my hand on my tummy. That's nice. That's okay. Yeah, because for most of us, it's just got very shut down and it's just where it's at the moment. But this is the seed. So, like I said, when we do this in the Energy Catalyst, we start week one with the whole process of desire. How do you start to define your sense of success, that the legacy and the life that you truly want to have? And we weave that thread into the entire 12 weeks. But for now, I just want you to do a little bit of journaling for yourself, and I'm going to give you all a minute to do it. So if you've got, you can write this on your energy prescription, and Susanna's just going to drop the questions into the chat box. Susanna, where's she gone?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah. Okay. So the question, I think, do you want to just drop it in again? Because I can see it sort of disappeared into the chat. So the question is this: if I could have it all my way, if absolutely nothing was off limits, what would really set me on fire? What would delight me? What would thrill me? And I'm just going to give you 1 minute to do that. You can write it on that compass, or you can write it just in a notebook wherever it feels convenient. So if I could have it all my way, if there were no limits of money, no limits of opportunity, no limits of resources of any kind, what would really set me on fire? If my life looked like that tomorrow morning, it'd be like, oh my God, that's insane. And don't overthink it. Just little nudges, things that you think, So just 20 more seconds. Okay, right. So you can absolutely continue this. And what we'll do is we'll copy all those questions into an email after this, and we'll send it out to you so that if you want to continue journaling with this for yourself afterwards and working with the replay, then you can do. Okay. So let's move on to the next direction of the compass, which is the south. So this is about understanding and deciding. Okay. Notice that although we're here to recover adrenal fatigue, we haven't yet got into what do I eat? What shall I do? We're not talking about all of those things because we have to do this work first to make that stuff easy and get quick results. Yeah, so it's like wallpapering a room. You spend more time preparing the surface than you do actually popping up the wallpaper. Yeah, same with this. Really important. We're laying the foundations for that. The strategies to really work and be effective and impactful. So let's just do a super quick poll here. So I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and I just want you to share the answers in the chat. So the first question is, in the last 7 days, how many good days, energy-wise, did you have? Meaning, a good day is you get up feeling refreshed, your energy lasts all day, there's no afternoon crashes, no falling asleep in front of the TV. You just, energy is good, steady, stable all day, and it's fine and dandy. So I want you to type into the chat, good days and then your number. So it'll be a number out of 7. You might have had 7 good days, you might have had 1 good day, or something in between. So just type it into the chat. At say 1, it's about 3. Somebody's saying 0. Yeah, the odd days here. Yeah. So you can see, you're in the right place, right? You're not alone in this. There are lots of you who struggle with having energy that, where there are still good and bad days and it's not rock solid. So second question, on a bad day, so think of the worst day you had this last week. how would you rate your energy out of 10? So 10 out of 10 is like really great. Woo, super duper. 0 out of 10 is like, I'd rather stay in bed, thanks. So on a bad day in the last week, how would you rate your energy? What was the worst it got out of 10? Bad day was 2 out of 10. Yeah, Karen, I know sometimes, so just take a poll of, yeah, when yeah, that's cool. Yeah. Okay, and then the last one. If you think about it, when was the last time you had all the energy in the world that where every day was a 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10? Like good energy, aliveness, vitality. How many months ago, how many years ago was it? Joanna saying 9 years ago. Yeah. And for some of us, we have really specific things that we know. It's like, oh, it's when I hit menopause. Oh, it's when I had my hysterectomy. Oh, it's when I had my baby. Oh, it's when I started this job. For some of us, it's really specific times. For others, it's more like, oh, I don't know. I don't know. I just don't remember ever feeling really that energetic. Yeah, Pauline's just saying years. Like, I just don't know. Can't remember when it was. Okay. So what I want you to get from this exercise that first of all, you're not alone. And that, I know all of you will have had if I said to you, what are all the things you've already tried? You'll have already tried all the things, supplements and acupuncture and Reiki and special diet. You'll have explored the lot, I'm sure. This won't be your first rodeo in thinking, how can I have more energy? Okay. But there are 3 things that you need to understand if we're going to really get to the point where we're going, right, enough. Yeah. And this is so important because you can't dabble at this. If you dabble, it doesn't work. Okay. Claire's saying 25 years ago, probably. Can't remember. Yeah, years. Yeah. Yeah, short periods where we feel great. That's it. And it's just, and then suddenly it just vanishes, right? But that means physiologically, it isn't all stacked up right. So 3 things we need to understand. So the first thing I've already kind of spoken about, which is that understanding that for whatever reason you're telling yourself that you're tired, it's my menopause, my perimenopause, it's my stressful job, it's my being a full-time carer for someone, it's the undiagnosed ADHD that I've had for my entire life, it's the trauma, it's the whatever it is, long COVID, short COVID, everything, whatever we're telling ourselves, adrenal fatigue sits at the root of all of these. And I know this because I've been doing this work for so long. I wasn't even taught this in my functional medicine training. I had to go to the States to do my functional medicine training because back in 2017, it was rare as hen's teeth. But they didn't even teach you that. But it's just what I see in my clinic over and over and over and over again. I'm like, oh my goodness. So it's really important to know this and understand that. So that's the first thing. So adrenal fatigue is where it's at. And whatever else might be going on, if you start working on your adrenal fatigue, the chances are the needle's going to move way more quickly than if you ignore the adrenal fatigue. The second thing we need to understand is the real cost. What's it actually really costing us? Because again, our good girl tends to get in the way, right? And she goes, it's not that bad. It's all right. I'll just struggle on another 6 months, another year. It's fine. But what's it actually costing you? Say in your parenting, maybe you're a grandparent. Maybe you want to inspire the young people in your life. What about in your main relationship in your life, in your job? Maybe you run your own business. Maybe you're an artist and a creative and entrepreneur. How is it actually playing out? Because being in a low energy state has a huge impact on how we show up. Now, I'm not just saying this to kind of have a sort of let's make you feel really bad session, but I just want us to really, just for a moment, shine the light on what this actually does to us. Yeah. Because when I speak to people and go, right, okay, well, let's sort it out, then they go, oh no, I'm all right, thanks. Because it's scary, right? It's change. I'm kind of used to this tired version of myself, the version of me that's fully alive. Well, now I've got to go and reinvent a whole new thing. And oh, I don't know, it can be scary to change. But think about someone who's in a stale marriage, without energy and vitality, that marriage will be an endurance race at best or an expensive divorce at worst. And divorces don't come cheap. Think of your career. And if you're somebody who's building a career, Without energy, you can't go the extra mile or inspire others or get the promotion or have the confidence to put yourself forward or get the recognition and the pay that you actually deserve. You just can't do it when you're in fatigue. If you're single, what kind of partner would you attract if you're in a low energy state yourself, where you're not owning your greatness, not feeling confident, not owning your worth? You're going to attract somebody who's also low energy and not really up to much, right? It just is the way it works. If you're parenting, how are you going to inspire your teenagers or your children or your grandchildren? How are you going to inspire them if you are living a life that is, how's that going to happen? You're just going through the motions of your life. You're showing them this is what life looks like on the hamster wheel and when it's not really all that exciting. That's not inspiring parenting or inspiring grandparenting, right? It's being able to be independent and live in the house that you want to, the house you probably worked your whole life to get, so that you don't have to go and downsize or sell up to, all these things come off the back of staying in fatigue. And I'm sure I don't need to tell you any of this, but it's, not all of it will be true for all of you. I'm just picking out scenarios, things that I see people struggling with. And these costs are very real. They're costing you your aliveness, your happiness. And it's important that we face it. And painful as it is, it's important that we go, okay, this is where it's really at, because that gives you the energy to go, enough now. And we need that energy, almost like anger, defiance, like, sorry, I'm going to say it, fuck it energy. We need that energy to go, right, no more. Because without it, we never really start or we never really go for it. Yeah? It doesn't matter how good the idea is, we just never really do. It's just human nature. We will do more to move away from pain than we need to do to move towards pleasure. Basic human psychology. Yeah. And if we don't recognize it, we keep minimizing what it's actually costing us. If we just keep telling ourselves, it's okay, that's fine, I'll just, carry on a bit longer, just being, it just isn't going to do it for you, right? And the third thing you need to understand is the things that we tell ourselves that stop us from taking action. So we tell ourselves, it's your menopause, it's my age, it's just stress. Oh, all mums struggle to juggle, a balance of career and family. This is just normal. Okay. But at the end of the day, these are myths, stories we tell ourselves, they're limiting beliefs. So when you really dig all that up and you come to the threshold and you go, oh my God, enough now. That's the threshold. That's the time when you're then able to say a clean yes to living a life that inspires you every single day, a life where you can live up to your true potential, fulfill on your purpose, and start making the difference that you're here to make in your way, right? And that's the moment where you can start saying a clear no to putting up with, settling, playing small, deciding, oh, it's okay, it's not that bad, because that's a form of self-abandonment. Just saying, no judgment, just saying. I did it for years. I abandoned myself for years and it cost me. I know what the cost of adrenal fatigue is. I've shared it in lots of times. It's not pretty and it's very real. And the good girl in us doesn't like any of this. She's just been trained to go, it's not that bad. I'm all right. I'm just a bit tired. It'll be all right. It'll be better tomorrow. But if you look at what's going on, this adrenal fatigue, this is what it's doing to you, to your health, to your life. And it's really not okay. So, but this is not, we can know this intellectually, but actually doing the work of this takes a bit. Okay. And that's why we need to do this work together. You can't just go off in isolation and do it and actually really hold yourself in that place. It's just too uncomfortable. And our natural instinct is go, no, thanks. I don't want to think about all the things that I've missed out on, or all the things, opportunities I didn't have because of this, staying in this video. I just don't want to think about it, because it's not nice. But, we do need to be seen and held as we take the steps towards this next chapter of our lives. We need someone to spot us when we go back. We've gone, right, I'm coming out of good girl condition. I'm going back into it now. We need someone to go, oh, hang on a minute. Over you, come over here. We take braver and bolder action when we do this work together. And when we see another woman going for it, we go, oh, I can do that too. It's really cool. So this is why, doing this work of energy recovery, of adrenal recovery, is so important that you don't do it by yourself. Even if I could just give you here's the whole instruction manual, it'll probably work, But if you do it by yourself, you'll keep getting in your own way. You won't be bold enough in your actions, and you won't get over the line and really fix it and move up on and out. Okay. So time to do a little reflecting, a little bit of writing. Just looking at your things that are like, keep the desire front and central. Yes, ma'am. So let's have a little think then. So here is Susanna, can you pop the questions in there? The ones for the South. Yeah. Yes, and I'm just looking at one of the comments that Brenda said, it's been a long time, although I have had short periods where I felt great. Yeah, and this is a particularly devious form of adrenal fatigue, because those moments where we feel good, we go, oh, maybe it's all right then. Maybe it's not, this is not really what it's going on. But if you helicopter out and look at the pattern, that's when you start to realize what's going on. Yeah, and it's not this benign thing, like I said. Right, so Susanna's popped the questions in the chat box, but I want you to just, again, we're just going to take a minute and we're just going to just make notes on the south part of your compass of your energy prescription. And you can answer one of these questions. Just pick the question that most speaks to you at this moment in time. You don't have to do all three and write a small essay. But what is the true cost of fatigue in my life right now? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? And what do I want to say yes to right now? And just pick one of those. You don't have to answer all three. I'm going to apologize now. We are going to go horribly over time. I ran a full time check of this talk, but I'm just getting so excited talking to you. So I do apologize. I did check it all, because I know I tend to run over time, and I was trying to be so good and stick to time, but it's not going to happen. Thank you, Janine. I'm trying to be a good girl in the timing department. So for those of you who are off camera, this is fine. I hope that you're, able to do. I know sometimes we can't be on camera for reasons. Yeah. Okay. So just pop down a few notes. So you've got a starting point whilst you're in the energy of this call to just, start having a look to go, what do I need to, what's going to give me my clean yes and my clean no? What do I need to understand? What's the actual cost for me? What am I no longer willing to tolerate? Yeah, that's absolutely fine, darling. Thank you for letting me know. I do. The replay will be out probably by Thursday, I would imagine, because we've just got to chop off the Q&A bit at the end so that we don't mess up people's confidentiality. So cool. So if you've all got just a few notes, they're just kickstart points. You can come back to this and sort of flesh it out more. Because for some of you, this is stuff you may have spent some time thinking about already, so it will flow more easily. For some of you, this might be the first time that you're thinking, God, I don't know, drawing a blank, and that's okay, because you're just at that starting point. That's completely normal. Okay, so don't stress about any of these questions. It's just to start populating your prescription, like where, what do I need to recognize that this is costing me, so that it helps me to go, like, I need to be deciding yes or no. And if you decide no, that is also fine, by the way. Yeah, because there's always the right time. What's the right time for you and not the right time, so it's all fine. So let's go on to the next direction, which is the west, which is the release. So for so many women, once they realize that they're in burnout or adrenal fatigue, as we call it, they roll up their sleeves and go, right, tell me what to do. Give it to me. Give me the instructions. Give me the task list. Yeah, because we're really good at getting into doing. But this is the biggest mistake that I see people do. They try to do more. They try to do the supplements. They try to do the diets. They try to go, oh, I'll do acupuncture. I'll do Reiki. I'll do counseling. I'll go and deal with my trauma and have therapy and all this stuff. But it doesn't fix your adrenals, right? And we've got to think about healing our adrenal fatigue a bit like, think about it like a bucket with holes in. So when you're doing all these things to try and have more energy and feel better and deal with your brain fog and have better sleep, and we're eating and we're sleeping and we're doing yoga and we're doing meditation and we're doing cold plunges or whatever you're doing, yeah, we're putting things into the bucket. But if that bucket has got holes in the bottom, the energy is going to keep leaking out, and it's literally like you'll never catch up with it. So the first thing we need to do is plug the leaks, plug the energy drains in our bucket. And again, in the Energy Catalyst, we spent a whole month on this, looking at it from all the different angles, because this stuff can be sneaky. And we need to figure out what are my biggest energy drains first, because those are the biggest levers we can pull to start turning this ship around. Yeah. So there might be, you do a full energy drain audit, and there might be that, I don't know, you have 23 things that you need. You can't do 23 things all at once, but we can work out what are the biggest ones and where do you start and work on those first, and then you layer them out. Yeah. So it's really, really important that before you start doing more things, that you take care of the energy drains, the leaks first. And so this, we look at energy drains in terms of, physical energy drains. So maybe it's your nutrition, maybe it's your sleep, maybe it's your nervous system reset work that needs sorted, that's just constantly on high alert, and that's an energy drain. It may be mindset stuff. It may be emotional stuff around, you're somebody who's a chronic worrier, chronically anxious, chronically in fear state, and that's pulling your energy down. It needs attending to. You can't leave that stuff in play and just keep trying to do the right things and hoping it'll all somehow get better, because it won't. You still have holes in the bottom of your bucket. We do physical, mental, emotional. So we look at mindsets, we look at boundary setting, we look at digital, we look at spiritual energy drains. For some people, like not being clear on what is my life purpose. And I know it might sound a bit flowery and airy fairy, but actually that can be a real energy drain for some people, because there's nothing to channel the effort and the energy towards. And for some people that really matters. So the list of energy drains, it's like a whole audit that we do. It's very tick boxy, it's very easy to do. But these are the areas that you need to start thinking about and start looking at. So it's not just about, what supplements do I take to have more energy? Like this falls so far short of what's actually needed. And again, it's this good girl in us, she loves like, oh, I just need to hold it all together. I'll just fix everything for everyone. I'll sort everything. And she's the arranger, the organizer, the listener in the family, and she's terrified that if she just drops one ball, if she sets one boundary, if she says one no, everything will just fall apart. So she needs taking care of as well in this process. Your good girl, while she remains rampant, she can't take you into the next chapter of your life. It just is, she doesn't have the courage or the vision to do it. What we need is your sovereign self, the queen energy in you, leading the charge. Yeah. And again, we'll be showing you how to do that. It just gets woven into the whole of the 12 weeks of the Energy Catalyst that we do. So, but I'm just sharing it with you now because you can probably start to recognize in yourself like, oh yeah, I am sort of in good girl stuff around this. I'm not really in my sovereign. That might be something you want to start having a look at, yeah, as part of your energy prescription. But the nature, the West energy, the energy drains, it's about letting go of things that no longer serve you. It's about deciding, what are you no longer available for? What are you no longer willing to tolerate? What are you no longer willing to do in terms of personal habits that you think, yeah, I've been telling myself so long now that I should, I don't know, eat healthy, but I'm just no longer willing to tolerate this. I'm going to sort out what is driving that and make sure that that is the right way up. Just to give you an example. So starting to release your energy drains can be a pretty emotional process, because even though we want to let go of the energy drains, it's change. It's a change of identity from good girl into sovereign, and change, you almost go through like a mini grieving process. And sometimes There's quite a lot of tears and frustration around this process. And again, it's important to then not be on your own with this, to be held in a group and for other people to go, God, me too. I feel exactly the same. I could cry. It's all right because we're asking you to go through this change where we're asking you to let go of this good girl, bearing in mind she's been conditioned in for generations. And we're going to start stepping into our sovereign and take action from there. And it's a lot, right? But the way that we do it makes it doable. And the fact that we're doing it together makes it much easier to do. So all of that. So I want you to take a deep breath. So that's the energy drains. Okay. Hand on the heart, hand on the tummy. Take a deep breath for yourself and just check in with your body for a moment. What is it that I'm willing to release? What is it that I know it would serve me so well if I could just let go of that? What do I need to stop doing? What are the energy drains in my day-to-day life? Where do I overgive and over-deliver? And what spaciousness do I actually really want for myself, for my recovery? When you're ready, open your eyes. And Susanna's popped a few of those questions into the chat box. And you can just pick one that you think, yeah, I want to dive into that one. And again, like I said, we will share all these questions in an email as part of the after. But have a little look, and on that west bit of your energy prescription, you think, what are my energy drains? What could I let go of? Are there things I could, could I stop having late nights? Can I stop telling myself that, having a late night is really good, is fine? I don't know. Could that be something I could sort of change? Could I let go of always saying yes to things that I really don't want to say yes to? Could I let go of the people pleasing? Could I, even just a little bit, maybe in one area? Have a think about it. I'm just coming up with some examples. Maybe that there's a physical thing that you've just attended to that that you just haven't taken care of, and it needs taken care of. Maybe that's what you need to stop resisting, and the energy drain of pain, the energy drain of worry, the energy drain of grief, maybe all this stuff. Okay. So, is everybody written enough that they want to write for now? Yeah, cool. Okay, so we're going to move into the north. Now it gets a bit more action oriented here. You action takers, you'll be pleased to know. So this is about inspired action steps to start building your energy. But as you now know, we've started off with desire and starting to unleash the energy that's in desire and the energy that we spend holding down desire. So we're already, the football's already rising to the surface. Then we're going to make a really clean decision. Like, I'm no going to step into my sovereign and I'm no longer available for this. So important before you start the journey. Then we've moved into the west. We're going to start making space. We're going to start plugging that leaking bucket, stop plugging the holes. And now we're going to move into the north. I'm going to start putting the good stuff in because now this stuff will work. Yeah, now it has a chance to actually start moving the needle on your energy levels. So before we get into that, Susanna, just take that down for a minute. It's just too distracting, darling. You're too early. So let's just talk about for a minute what really fuels sustainable change. How can we take action steps in a way that's sustainable so we'll actually get the results? And I just want to shine the spotlight on something that's really key here, which is the difference between motivation and inspiration. Now, in motivation, the inner conversation goes something like this. It goes like, I should do this. I should fix my adrenal fatigue. It's a good idea that, maybe I should lose some weight and maybe I should exercise a bit more. It would be good for me, to take my supplements regularly and take better care of myself. That's the inner chatter on motivation. It runs on willpower, and willpower burns out fast. It's only designed for short-term use, and it will rarely help you succeed on long-term projects. Never seen it happen. It's just not the right tool for the job. Inspiration, on the other hand, that inner conversation goes more like this. It goes, I really, really want to do this. This feels so good to do. I really want to do it. Remember that South, making clear decision, no longer available for, hell yes to this, right? I really want to do it. That sovereign energy. It's the energy of inspiration. It's the energy of your higher self. This is who I'm becoming. This is the woman I'm reclaiming. I'm no longer in good girl. I'm claiming my sovereign energy, my queen energy. That's inspiration. Okay. This is also why we had to spend time on the desires. That's our inspiration. Very important to start connecting to what truly inspires you in terms of taking action steps within your health. Okay. Because at that point, your energy starts to expand naturally and it makes it sustainable and joyful, and there's no willpower required. Okay. Because for so many women, taking action means overworking, trying really hard, being perfect at something, and it just doesn't work. This is what has us living in survival mode. It's depletion in disguise. So what I teach in the Energy Catalyst is intelligent and inspired action. This is part of the cortisol code, intelligent and inspired action. So what do we mean by that? Well, the intelligent part is, again, it's aligned to the functional medicine part. It's taking the right action in the right order and with the right focus. And that's the strategy. It's like, do I just eat healthily globally, or are there specific things within the nutrition thing that actually I need to do? And which ones do I need to do first to get the results? And we teach you the specifics of that in the Energy Catalyst. The intelligent bit is the right steps, the right order, the right focus. The inspired step is around how it feels to be doing it. Does it feel good to be eating in this way rather than that way? Does it feel enlivening? Does it feel exciting? Does it feel joyful to be taking care of your sleep in a certain way, to be stepping into active movement, active rest restoration in a certain way? Does it feel deeply pleasing? So intelligent and inspired action, you need both. Having just strategy isn't going to do it, because that motivation piece will just make it die a death. You can be as determined as you like. You could be telling me today with your hand on your heart, I'm going to do it, Margaret. And I'll be going, see you in 4 weeks, because it ain't going to happen. It's just human nature. Our willpower is just not designed for these kind of projects that need slow, consistent, steady, strategic building for the body to kind of pretzel its way out of this adrenal fatigue. So to give you examples of what an intelligent and inspired approach might look like. So for example, in the food department, we could be telling ourselves, I must eat more healthily, I must control myself, I must be good, right? There's so often we tell ourselves these things. But an intelligent and inspired action frame would be like, I'm thinking about food as medicine. I'm thinking food as a source of abundance. Food is like my powerful healing. It's nature's medicine cabinet. Food is my new partnership. It's my new relationship. I'm really excited about it. We get to hang out together. That's an inspired approach to food, right? Totally different relationship. Okay. Maybe what about this one? Taking time off, having a proper rest. Now, for some of us, we naturally may have more time to do rest practices than others, but even so, the old way says, I must take some time off. I must have a rest. I must have a lie down. When I've earned it. But in this work, active rest isn't a reward, it's a rhythm. Yeah, it's a powerful reset practice that restores your nervous system and supports emotional regulation, physiological regulation, and creates inner safety so that your body can open up to having more energy. Yeah, so that's the inspired way of thinking about having a rest practice of some kind, or an active restoration practice. And again, we teach you lots of the different types, so you can find the one that feels good, find the one that suits you. You create your own active rest recipes and so on. We're not we're not about cookie cutter, it's about what's right for you. Okay. So here we are. The good girl will be going, let's make a plan, let's get after it. But your sovereign woman is going to be going, no, we're going to do intelligent and inspired action, darling. We're going to treat food as medicine. We're going to do deep nervous system repair. We're going to do sleep strategies that allow your detoxification system to work naturally, that allow your gut health to come online nicely, all these things. And we're going to take these specific steps small steps consistently and get it to build the results over time. And that's how you get some of these results. Like in the energy catalyst, we get results like, people start sleeping through the night when they've been struggling. They start waking up feeling refreshed. Their mind is clearer. The body's calmer. Some people start naturally just losing weight. They're not trying to. Their body is actually just lining up in a different way. Just feeling like myself again, feeling, somebody said that I feel like I have a backbone again. I thought that was always quite an interesting one. So that's this direction of north. So it's not just, let's throw everything at it. It's smart, strategic, specific, it's intelligent and inspired action. And that's what the sovereign woman in you is doing. Yeah. After we've dealt with the energy drains. Okay. So you can sort of start to see where this is going. So let's just talk about some reflection prompts. Let's get you starting to write your own energy prescription for this, because the truth is that when we start to tune into some of this, we already know some of these things. Like you might be saying to me, well, yeah, but from a functional medicine perspective, like what's the best way to do this? But actually, I'm telling you now, you already know how to do all of this. And tapping into your natural wisdom is really, really important. And it's more how you do it than what you do. Okay. So we're going to talk about the questions. So I think Susanna's already put them in. So just have a little think about which of these questions you would like to play with on your energy prescription for the North. So what actions truly restore my energy and sovereignty rather than drain them? Now you will already know some of these things. What things do you do that give you more energy rather than taking energy away? Where in my life do I need to create or strengthen boundaries to protect my peacefulness? I've had multiple clients who, spend the entire summer holidays looking after children and grandchildren, and it's exhausting. And sometimes there might need to be a few boundaries around these things. What's one daily act of devotion I can commit to? Something that nourishes, grounds, and reconnects me to myself. So I want you to just choose whichever question just feels that you think, oh, I'd like to talk about that. Pick that one and just write yourself a few notes. Just let it be simple. It doesn't have to be anything massive. What are some action steps that you could take within that question? Right. Right. And then in the final direction, we're going to come to the east. Now, this is where it gets really exciting. And I have never, ever heard any other practitioners talk about this as part of their adrenal fatigue recovery strategy. But in my practice, I've seen it create magic. Okay. So if you think about the east, that's where the sun rises, right? It's about letting in the new light, the new dawn, the new day, all of that. But it's also about starting to receive, about letting in, making room for things to come into your life without you having to try for them. It's creating that spaciousness, that expansion, that as your energy starts to rise, and you open up that space, things start to come in that will then give you more energy gratis. You don't even have to try. You don't have to worry about, am I eating right? Am I sleeping right? Am I exercising right? You don't have to worry about any of those things. It'll just come as you start to open up this space. So just imagine for a moment, you've done the work of connecting to your desires. You're no longer holding the football and the water, and you're really quite connected to your desires. It's naturally giving you an energy. You've made a really clear decision in that south, like, yeah, you've you've looked at the energy drain work, you've started shifting yourself from good girl action into the sovereign. In the north, you're taking action. You come to the east, the energy is starting to lift, it's starting to improve, it's starting to get more solid, more consistent. Okay. So this new version of you that's connected to your desires, that's aware of when you show up as a good girl, as opposed to in your sovereign energy, you've learned how to take action from a place of feeling inspired to do it. You've changed that relationship with from the efforting into the inspiration version. Yeah. So just imagine this new and aligned, this version of you, this energy that's rising in her. what would she now be available for? What could she now let in? And just sit with that for a moment. And if you need to close your eyes to feel that, I find I get visual overload, so I always have to close my eyes for things like that to be able to check in. If I wasn't so anymore, and I could, what could I start to allow space for? What could I allow to come in? Maybe I could allow in support. Maybe I can allow in a new way of having a relationship with my partner. Maybe I could allow in kind of loving what I'm into so much that it just naturally attracts other people in. Maybe that. And without betraying any confidence, but I know there was somebody who we had in the Energy Catalyst last time, and she absolutely loved nature projects, and she was part of this forestry group. And it was about just being available for that, showing up to that in a way that just, rather than it being as I have to turn up for my volunteer job, it was actually no, let it feed you, and let the other people contribute, and let them come in, and let that love of nature start to just like expand and feed into other areas of life. And it was really beautiful to see, really beautiful. Like it was so her, and that's what I mean by allowing yourself to start receiving things, allowing new things to come in. Because most of us, we're taught to just give endlessly and to receive only tiny doses, and only after we've really worked hard for it and we've really earned it. Yeah, but receiving is the other half of the energy equation. Yeah, it's where flow and abundance and replenishment live. And for most of us as women, we have to relearn how to receive. We're so good at putting out, and we're so bad at letting it in. And if anybody massively disagrees with me, let's have a conversation about that at the end. But this is what I see, allowing ourselves to receive, allowing life, people, opportunities, projects, environments to feed you, to nourish you, like drink the goodness out of them. Yeah. So this is where you're open to support, open to being recognized, to being seen, or receiving. Even just someone else seeing you on your journey is a form of receiving. Someone else seeing you like, oh my God, she's stepping into this, and look what's happening, and allowing yourself to be seen like that. And often it's quite a tender process because it's so new. It's like, oh, I don't know, I feel like I'm without a skin, it's like, oh, it feels very exposing. But it's that allowing that receiving energy in is really, really important. And again, that's why it's so important that we do this work together with others, because we start to have these safe places where we can, then other people can see us and support us and allow that energy in, so we can go from sort of striving and gripping to softening and allowing, and from contracted into expanded, and from sort of, defended to, come in, open. And from sort of, nope, hold off, you stay over there, to welcome, in you come. Yes, I'm happy to receive you. I'm happy to receive this energy. And the other thing about that, when we're in that sort of place where we don't allow receiving, our nervous system stays on alert. Yeah, remember that nervous system thing that we talked about earlier on about the adrenaline, the cortisol. It stays stuck in that place. When we start to receive, that's the energy of the heal and repair, of the receiving, the vagus nerve work, the parasympathetic work, the balancing of the acute stress response. So it's actually physiologically really important to be able to receive. It's not just a sort of, I'm going to just be the queen of my life and sit on my throne and just let good things come to me on little velvet pillows. It's not that kind of receiving I'm talking about. I'm talking about physiologically allowing things in. Yeah. And most women, like I say, we're terrible at it. We tend to be quite defended and quite guarded, and often for good reason. Some of us will have had past life experiences where, allowing anyone is, oh no, that's not going to happen. But like I say, part of the having amazing energy, amazing aliveness, we don't just want to fix the adrenal fatigue, we want to have aliveness. Yeah. And so that's what this direction is all about. So our good girl, if she's still in play at this point, which I'm hoping by that point she's not, But I've got to earn this. I've got to earn the right to be given to be contributed to be, But our queen goes, no, please bring me these lovely things. Our sovereign energy is very different, and she's part of our energetic, container, and expanding that and having it the whole lot just going up and up and up. And this is what I mean when I said at the beginning, it's like the science and soul of this. And hopefully you can hear that through all the directions we've talked about. There's the nuts and bolts of the functional medicine approach and the things we need to attend to, but there's also the soul of it, the sovereign energy, the receiving, the desires, the letting in, the clarity of decision. This matters. Yeah. You can't just go into the Lego blocks, the Lego kit of the body and go, if I just put this block there and that, it'll all be fine. It just doesn't, it's just not. The body's so much more sophisticated than that, and our energy levels especially. And like I said, that example earlier about if you've ever been in love, you have loads of energy. Suddenly it's like, oh, the whole world is technicolor, right? But that's what I mean about, we want to start harnessing not just our physical energy and the nuts and bolts that we need to do around supplements and food and nervous system strategies and all the rest of it, which we will definitely do, but you need all of it together. Yeah, because that's where the magic happens. Okay, so because we've gone so over time, I am going to do a special recording of the mini reset practice, which I promised you all, so that we have time just to talk about a few of the nuts and bolts. So I will send you that recording. I will record it straight after this and I will send it to you as a link in the email so that you can enjoy that at your leisure, because I think we've gone way over time. So let's just talk about the East questions then. So the questions are, Susanna's put them in the chat box, that's good. So where do I resist receiving? Where do I resist being contributed to? What abundance or support am I ready to welcome in? And how will I allow myself to be seen, acknowledged, and celebrated? So pick the question that feels most kind of accessible to you right now and just write yourself some brief notes. Loving some of the medicine moments. Taking one inspired action at a time, building momentum and not people pleasing myself. Yes. And Karen is saying, staying in inspired mode, allowing spontaneity and the dream stuff in. Yeah, this is like Karen, that is all about this East direction, and it really matters. I'm just going to give you all 30 more seconds just to make some notes for yourself on your cortisol code energy prescription. Joanna, thank you. Yeah, please watch the replay, my darling. It'll be good. Apologies for going over. And Janine too. Good to see you. Okay, so let's move on to the next part then. So we've gone right around the wheel now, and hopefully you can see that this is so much more than just the old model of what supplements do I need to take, what food do I need to eat, which is where most of us go when we're told you have adrenal fatigue. And that's our health culture. How do I fix it? What's the solution? What's the fix? Yeah. But if you really want to recover adrenal fatigue and have that happen quickly, yeah, we don't want to spend 3 years doing it. We want to have it happen quickly and to use all the natural ways in which your body will already make amazing energy if we just open the door to it, as well as the nuts and bolts and the strategies. So that's the key to this. This is why this way of working with adrenal fatigue is just like spectacular. Um, so, the wheel isn't just about recovery, it's about becoming more of who you are. And that's the secret sauce. It's the soul as well as the science. Okay. Taking center stage of your life, whatever that looks like for you. And I'm not saying, you have to suddenly go and be, the next Beyonce and stand in the shiny lights. Being center stage of your life could mean having really deep, beautiful, rich relationship, with your partner. And that is standing center stage of your life, whatever that looks like for you. Yeah. It'll be very different for everybody. It's very personal, but that we take charge of standing center stage of our life, being who we, having the energy to be who we came here to be is like the biggest act of service of humanity that we could possibly step into. So that sort of binds up or threads, all the threads of the cortisol code wheel. I would just like to take 2 minutes to quickly just offer you something that may be of interest to some of you, not to everybody. You will know, but I'll just quickly do that for 2 minutes. And then I want to talk about what your medicine moments were, and maybe invite some people just to, come off mute and maybe just share and just see what's landed for you. So let me just do that quickly first and just share with you. So I am just going to share with you this. Give me 2 seconds. So throughout today, you'll have heard me talking about this thing called the energy catalyst. And, this may be a great next step for some of you not. But I just want to introduce you to just the very, very short sharp of what's involved so that you can have a think about this to see if this is something that you might want to move forward with. So the Energy Catalyst is a 12-week online group program. We run it once a year, and the next round starts in February 2026. So the Energy Catalyst really is if you know that you're in adrenal fatigue and you're tired of being in that place of pushing through and you want your energy back, but you want it in a natural and sustainable way. You want to treat this at root cause, and you want to have the balance and clarity and the freedom to feel like your true self again, to step into that sovereign part of yourself, and have the next decade be, your best yet. That's what we're talking about. So I'll keep this very short. So we are opening early bird access today. Okay. So being an early bird, which you can only do when you've been to one of these workshops, is you get three things. You get a special rate from a massive reduction. It's just slightly over half price, but you get a special rate for joining the Energy Catalyst. You will also get a couple of workshops between now and February when we start, so that you can start the journey. You don't have to wait till February. And you get a chance to buy the VIP thing. So I'll just quickly show you the details of all of those. So the early bird rate, the regular price for the full 12 weeks, it's 4,997, or 12 monthly payments of 497. Now the early bird price, the pay in full, is 2,997 for the full 12 weeks and the workshops that go beforehand. So, you will effectively be starting, if you decide you're going to sign up, this week, you will be starting your journey now. And I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Or you can do it as a payment plan with 12 lots of 297. So this is your opportunity to join as an early bird. This will be the best rate that we will be offering this at. And the program itself starts on Monday, the 9th of February, and it will go for 12 weeks, like I said. So the other thing that happens when you're an early bird is, rather than waiting till the 9th of February, I'll be running some private workshops between now and the start of that journey. So workshop number 1 will be really going deeper into that central part of the cortisol code wheel of medicine, because this is one that lots of us struggle with. It is, and it is also really fun work to do. And we need to do it in conversation. Just sitting by yourself trying to unpick this is almost impossible. But what we're going to do is really focus on that central part, and let's start unpicking like what would naturally, help you to stop holding the football under the water, and let your natural energy start to rise. So really having a look, like, how does your good girl really show up? How do you start to tap into your desires, even when you've not thought about these things for years? And maybe start creating a little bit of a map for your desires. So you can just start very gently with micro actions, start inviting this energy into your life. So that's the first workshop. And then the second workshop, I may change this. I haven't yet decided. It just depends a little bit. But I think it will be really, really cool just to have a really good deep dive into so you really understand how you got here. And we start to just do a bit of a visual we build a visual chart of really, so that you can start to see where your big energy drains are really easily. So all of that. So there's a couple of really cool workshops, and we may run some more depending on what's going on, but definitely we'll be running those too. And also, as an early bird, you'll get access to one of the limited VIP places. So the VIP spot, you get a one-to-one with me, and we run you a professional grade adrenal stress index test. So you can see in black and white what your adrenals are actually doing. And then I'll walk you through how you can really, squeeze all the juice out of the Energy Catalyst program to help your particular health situation. So that in a nutshell is what the Energy Catalyst is. And I just wanted to, park it in front of you at this point, so that for those of you for who this is right, that may be, a perfect next move. For some of you, it may be, not the right move, and that's fine.